Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I've got to catch up on a lot of my budget IEM videos. I've got the Kiwi Ears Dolce, the Simgot EW200, the Blon XZ JoJo, and the Shanling Sono. One of these IEMs I actually really did enjoy for gaming-related purposes, and I do believe that it will be joining the Wallhack Certified Tier List. I think the other three kind of fall behind a little bit too much, but I do want to show you guys these IEMs, talk about them, and talk about what I do like and don't like for gaming-related purposes. Let's get into it. The IEMs I want to start with are the Shanling Sono and the Blon XZ JoJo. This is a single dynamic driver in the JoJo. The Sono is a hybrid. It's got two DDs in a coaxial lineup and a BA. And I thought that the Shanling was actually going to perform very well, but with both nozzles, it actually underperforms, and the Blon JoJo underperforms as well. The Blon JoJo has a bass that it feels very muddled, very muddy. The Sono, I also felt, takes a very big hit in the resolution department for the sub bass and mid bass. And that creates quite a problem on both of these sets in terms of clarity and the ability to pick up things that you would normally hear with greater emphasis, like people shuffling in Valorant, people sliding or falling from height, and you get that whoosh. Being able to pick up a lot of those micro details, people reloading, the metal clinking on skin, both of these sets fall far behind. Before we get ahead of ourselves too much, you can see the default cables on both of these, the Blon having the better default cable in my opinion. Both of them are about the same size, the Shanling having a chrome shell that does feel pretty good quality for its price point at around $79. And then the Blon JoJo at $49 has a pretty cool lavender looking shell with a little bit of gold accents there on the left. Both of them are quite small, the JoJo feeling smaller to me. So if you do need something a little bit on the smaller side for fit purposes, these could potentially work for you. I find both of these to be okay for gaming in terms of their imaging, but the other areas do fall behind, including depth perception, micro detail, and the stage on both of these feels off. You don't get a great sense of air between you and your target for depth perception. But particularly the Sono and the Blon, I feel both of these to be warm IEMs. But I feel as though the audio cues on both of these sometimes flood the audio. The Sono in particular, I gave separation a 7.2, and I gave the separation on the Blon a 7.3. And that is, of course, in Apex or in Valorant, when too much is going on, the ability to be able to pinpoint things around you, it's just not quite there. The Sono, for the imaging in Valorant, it almost felt a little 2D at times. You could tell that somebody was in front of you, but the tuning, just that depth perception falls behind a little bit too much. I gave the depth perception in Valorant a quite lower score than I did in Apex, surprisingly, at a 6.5. The micro detail, a 6.5 for Valorant. And the stage just doesn't have that emphasis that I like. So the footsteps kind of fall behind in your ability to pick them up. You want the footsteps to be a little bit on the elevated side. I gave the overall sense of stage and that emphasis that you want a 6.5 for Valorant. And again, the separation was about the same in both Apex and Valorant. I actually gave the depth perception a little bit of a higher score for Apex at a 7.5. Overall imaging is 7, micro detail is 7, and then that stage sense of what you want for Apex, I gave a 7.2, and the separation the same. The Blon, I felt, had clearer mid, surprisingly, than the Sono when it came to Apex, but again, the bass is so muddled and just doesn't sound right. Like a Vandal in Valorant, when you shoot, it just doesn't have that bass, that emphasis that you typically expect. The Vandal just doesn't even sound like the Vandal, and grenades just don't really hit right. And the sub bass and mid bass literally do drown out the mid. So when you are looking for that shuffling noise or you're trying to get a sense of depth, it really does fall behind. I gave depth perception a 7. I gave imaging, which wasn't, again, that bad. I gave imaging a 7.8. Micro detail, I think, falls behind in both games as well. I give a 7.2. The stage that I would want and that emphasis on footsteps, I had to give a 7 for Valorant. For Apex, it was a little bit better. I gave a 7.4. and then that sense of separation for both games really does fall behind. So they both kind of run into similar issues despite the driver orientation being quite different and the sets being different in tuning overall. But two sets that are okay for gaming, they just don't hit the mark like other things on the list. So we're going to be keeping these two off the Wallhack tier list for now. Now, the next set is the Kiwi Ears Dolce. This is a single dynamic driver set, and it does have a pretty comfortable build. It is a resin shell, I believe, and then a really nice looking kind of fade. Goes from a dark navy blue all the way to a lighter blue. A pretty good looking set. And for $21, this is a set that if you're into hip hop and things like that, it actually does sound pretty good for the money. I do think that the sub bass and mid bass bleeds into the mids a little bit, and I think that does occur in game. In terms of the overall performance of these, it's not something that I would personally recommend. Again, I think the biggest issue on this set is separation. For separation, I think this is one of the sets in this video that probably gets it done wrong the most. I think that for your audio cues in Valorant, when you're shooting a Vandal, if two people are shooting a Vandal, it's very hard to pick up on the other audio cues. Operators, sheriffs, Vandals, those things just kind of overwhelm everything else, and you lose that micro detail. In Apex, if you are going into a building with multiple teams, it is just going to be a very hard and difficult experience for you to be able to have a successful fight, because you're going to be very overwhelmed with just the soup feeling of being swirled in a soup and not being able to pick out where everything is. It's giving it to you all at once. So a pretty cool set, and I think that you guys should maybe look at these in terms of a budget set for your music library, not a overall poor experience for the money. But for gaming, again, the biggest thing is going to be that separation. Depth perception, I also think, takes a hit. It's a little bit hard to perceive exactly where somebody is. I mean, you get a good sense of the person being further away. It's just there's not a big sense of air to be able to say that person's 20 meters, 30 meters, 40 meters. So you might have a decent sense of imaging, decent sense of depth perception, but something I would probably put around a C- or a D+. So maybe a 6.9 to a 7.0. And then in terms of the micro detail and being able to pick up things like clanking and stuff like that, I would probably put around the same spot. The stage and atmosphere, I kind of wish that footsteps were a little bit more elevated on this set, and there was a soundstage that in Valorant things kind of get away from you other than your audio cues when you're shooting a Vandal, again, because it's kind of overwhelming. So for that, I would give it a 6.9. And again, separation is going to take the biggest hit. Separation's going to get a probably around a 6.5. Last but not least, I have the Simgot EW200. This is a pretty damn good set, especially for $40. I think that this being $40, I'm going to push out the Moondrop lands from the Wallhack certified tier list, and this will be my new recommendation at $40. I think Simgot nailed it on the EM6L, and they did a pretty good job with the EW200. This is not the default cable, so please don't mind the cable. And I also have the Dunu Candy ear tips on my copy. But it is an all-metal body frame that actually does feel quite good. It's on the smaller side. It's a very comfortable fit, one that you can wear for several hours, at least I could. And it is a dynamic driver that has a dual magnet and dual cavity setup. So that's supposed to, from what I understand, supposed to mimic the experience of as if it had multiple drivers. But overall, the tuning here is quite good. It follows the Harman 2016 curve, or at least sets out to do so. And it, to me, feels like a very tonally balanced set that leans a little bit more towards sub-bass. So it's got a little bit more of an emphasis in that sub-bass region and mid-bass region, which to me feels, in terms of an experience in-game, provides with this tuning a staging that to me almost mimics the Kiwi Ears Orchestra Lite. It's a stage and an atmosphere that feels quite good with elevated footsteps that you want for gaming, and then the audio cues around you are happening at that level that they should be. People shuffling around you, people falling on you, people dropping guns and tack shooters, picking things up, people reloading, metal clinking on the floor or on character skins. Happens with the emphasis that I want out of an IEM, and particularly a budget IEM. For that, I would give that stage, that atmosphere, a solid 8.0, and I'm also going to give the imaging and depth perception a solid 8.0 here. I think that the ability to pick up people moving horizontally from, people about to peek a wall in Valorant, you've got a very nice perception of that, one that is exceptionally good and will compete with higher-priced IEMs for sure. In terms of depth perception, you get a solid reading with, on this set, the treble that you are getting, there is a nice hit of it for that tonal balance, and you get a nice sense of air and presence. With that, you get better depth perception on this set than the other sets in this video. And imaging depth perception, I'm going to give an 8.0. Stage, I'm going to give an 8.0. Really, almost 8.0s across the board. The only one area that I kind of nick it a little bit is in the separation and layering. Although this set is extremely good, when too many things are going on in Apex in particular, the separation does take a little hit. I would give it a 7.5. It doesn't handle that as well as its bigger brother now, the Simgot EM6L. But overall, this set is pretty damn exceptional at $40. Definitely going to be joining the Wallhack certification tier list. And if you're looking for something that is not only good for a wide array of music libraries, again, with a great tonal balance, a little bit of an emphasis on that sub-bass region, instruments sound good, vocals sound good, nice for my music library, but also one that handles both tack shooters for $40 very well, and big, broad, expansive maps like Apex Legends. It handles things very well and performs great for gaming-related purposes. For that reason, again, at that $40 price point, I'm going to be moving out the Moondrop LAN, and I will be putting in the Simgot EW200. Also, just so you guys know, for the purposes of my budget IEM testing, I am using the Moondrop Moonriver 2 tie. This little thing is a very cool amp deck. It is a mobile amp deck, very small. You can use it with your phone. You can use it on the go. But for gaming-related purposes, it has very low distortion. I had no white noise whatsoever while testing these IEMs. They were powered perfectly. And even swapping to something a little bit more upper end, like the Zen's Up or the Zen's Top, this actually does perform very well. So if anybody is interested in this, you can definitely check it out. I believe it's on Linsol as well as Amazon. I can probably get a full review in soon, but I just wanted to let you guys know I have been using this for a while. Sounds great, performs well, and handles IEMs with ease. So guys, unfortunately, only the Simgot EW200 will be passing the test and becoming a Wallhack certified IEM. I do think that the Moondrop LAN is still extremely good, but I do prefer the tuning and the feel of the Simgot EW200 a little bit more. So despite the fact that the Moondrop LAN is moving out of the list, keep in mind it is still an absolutely phenomenal IEM for competitive gaming purposes. If you have it, you like it, you don't have to side grade to the EW200, but I do think that because I prefer the tuning, I will be moving out the LAN and moving in the Simgot EW200. I hope this helped, guys. If it did, please leave a sub to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next review. Peace.